You need to leave this building right now before I have security escort you out in handcuffs, because I do not know what kind of scam you are running, little girl. But claiming to own a company worth $4.7 billion is not just pathetic, it is criminal, and I will personally ensure you spend the next decade explaining your delusions to a judge. The words echo through the glass atrium of Nexus Technologies headquarters in downtown Seattle, where 16-year-old Imani Richardson stands in front of the security desk wearing a hoodie her mother bought her 3 years ago, jeans with a small tear at the knee, and sneakers that have seen better days. Her hand still extended toward the receptionist who refused to accept her identification, her face calm despite the rage building behind her eyes. The man speaking is Gerald Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Acquisitions, net worth $6.3 billion, and he has just flown in on his private jet from New York, specifically to finalize the acquisition of Nexus Technologies, a deal that has been 18 months in the making, a deal that will consolidate his control over the autonomous vehicle sector, a deal that he believes is hours away from closing until this teenager walked into the lobby and said 5 words that made his blood pressure spike 40 points in 3 seconds. I own this company. But what Gerald Whitmore does not know, what no one in this lobby knows, except for the woman in the gray suit, standing silently by the elevator with a leather briefcase containing 417 pages of legal documentation, is that Imani Richardson is not running a scam. She's not delusional. She's not confused. She is the sole heir of Marcus Richardson, the founder of Nexus Technologies, who died 14 months ago in a car accident that was ruled a tragic accident, but which Imani has never believed was accidental, and she holds in her backpack, in a folder her mother gave her on the morning of her 16th birthday, exactly 7 days ago, documents that prove she has owned 51% of this company since the moment her father took his last breath. The acquisition Gerald Whitmore has spent 18 months engineering is about to collapse. The empire he has built on buying companies from people who do not know their own worth is about to encounter someone who knows exactly what she is worth, down to the penny, down to the share, and down to the specific clause in her father's will that was designed for exactly this moment. Imani does not flinch. She does not step back. She does not lower her eyes the way the world has trained black girls to lower their eyes when powerful white men raise their voices. She stands exactly where she is, 5 feet 6 inches of quiet fury, and she waits for the man who just threatened to have her arrested to finish making the biggest mistake of his career. Security, Gerald barks, snapping his fingers at the 2 guards flanking the reception desk. Remove her, now. The guards hesitate. They look at Imani. They look at Gerald. They look at the woman in the gray suit who has stepped forward, her heels clicking against the marble floor, her voice cutting through the tension like a scalpel through skin. I would advise against that, Mr. Whitmore. The woman's name is Patricia Okonkwo. She is 53 years old. She is a partner at Morrison Sterling, one of the top corporate law firms in the country, and she has been waiting for this moment for 14 months, ever since Marcus Richardson sat in her office 3 weeks before his death and said, Patricia, something is going to happen to me. I can feel it. And when it does, I need you to protect my daughter. I need you to make sure she gets what is hers. I need you to be ready for the people who will try to take it from her. Patricia was ready. Patricia is always ready. And now she opens her briefcase and removes a document that will change everything Gerald Whitmore thinks he knows about this company, this deal, and the teenager he just called a criminal. This, Patricia says, placing the document on the reception desk where everyone can see it, is a certified copy of the last will and testament of Marcus Anthony Richardson, founder and majority shareholder of Nexus Technologies. It was filed with the King County Probate Court 14 months ago, immediately following his death. Gerald's face twitches. He does not like surprises. He has spent his entire career eliminating surprises through information, through leverage, through the aggressive accumulation of knowledge about every company he acquires and every person who stands between him and what he wants. He knew Marcus Richardson died. He knew there was an estate. He knew the shares were being held in trust. What he did not know, what his team of lawyers somehow failed to discover, is the identity of the beneficiary, the sole beneficiary. Patricia continues, of Mr. Richardson's 51% stake in Nexus Technologies is his daughter, Imani Elise Richardson. She turned 16 on March 3rd of this year. Under the terms of the will, her shares became directly transferable to her control on that date. The trust that has been managing those shares for the past 14 months has been dissolved. As of 7 days ago, Imani Richardson is the majority owner of this company. Gerald stares at the document. He stares at Imani. He stares at Patricia. His face cycles through disbelief, calculation, and finally lands on an expression Imani recognizes from years of watching her father navigate the world of men who thought their money made them invincible. Gerald Whitmore is scared. This is absurd, he says, but his voice has lost its edge, its certainty. In the shares were being managed by a trust. I've been negotiating with that trust for 18 months. The trustees assured me that the sale would proceed as planned. They assured me there were no complications. Imani speaks for the first time since Gerald started shouting. Her voice is low, steady, with the particular cadence of someone who has rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times since she learned what her father left her. The trustees, Imani says, did not have the authority to sell my shares. They had the authority to manage them, to vote them on routine matters, to collect dividends on my behalf. But the will is very specific, Mr. Whitmore. Any sale of more than 5% of the company requires my personal approval. I did not give that approval. I will not give that approval. Your acquisition is over. The lobby has gone silent. The receptionist has stopped pretending to work. The security guards have lowered their hands. 3 employees who were walking toward the elevator have frozen mid-step, phones out, recording, because this is the kind of moment that demands documentation, the kind of moment that will be analyzed and replayed and discussed for years to come. Gerald Whitmore takes a step toward Imani. He is 6 feet 2 inches tall, 230 pounds, and he uses his size the way he uses everything else, as a tool of intimidation, a reminder that the world was built to accommodate men who look like him and exclude girls who look like her. You do not know what you are doing, he says, and his voice is low now, dangerous in a different way. You are a child. You have no idea how to run a company. You will destroy everything your father built, and when you come crawling to me in 6 months, begging me to buy your worthless shares for pennies on the dollar, I will remind you of this moment. I will remind you that you had a chance to take my very generous offer and you threw it away because you wanted to play CEO. Imani looks up at him. She does not step back. She does not blink. She thinks about her father, who taught her to code when she was 7, who brought her to this building on weekends so she could see what he was building, who sat with her at the kitchen table every night explaining the business, the technology, the vision, because he knew even then that she would need to understand everything when the time came. My father, Imani says, taught me everything he knew about this company. He taught me the technology. He taught me the business model. He taught me the names of every employee and what they do and why they matter. He taught me how to read a balance sheet and a patent filing and a contract clause that someone is trying to slip past me. He taught me that people like you would come for what he built, and he taught me how to stop you. She reaches into her backpack. She pulls out a folder, worn at the edges, covered in handwriting that makes her heart ache every time she sees it, because it is her father's handwriting, the notes he left her, the instructions for exactly this moment. He also taught me, Imani continues, that when someone threatens you, you do not back down. You show them what you have. And what I have, Mr. Whitmore, is documentation of every meeting you have had with the trustees of my shares, every offer you made, every pressure tactic you used, every suggestion that they should hide information from the probate court about the true ownership structure of this company. Gerald's face goes white. The blood drains from his skin so completely that Imani can see the veins in his temples pulsing with the sudden spike in his blood pressure. She continues. My father knew something was wrong before he died. He told his lawyer. He told me in a letter I read for the first time 7 days ago. He said, Gerald Whitmore will try to steal your company, baby girl. He will use money and lawyers and intimidation. He will tell you that you are too young, too inexperienced, too female, too black to run what I built. Do not believe him. Do not let him take what is yours. And whatever happens, remember that I loved you and I believed in you. Oh, and I knew you would make me proud. Imani's voice cracks on the last word. She does not try to hide it. She lets the grief show because the grief is real, because 14 months is not enough time to stop missing your father, because the chair at the head of the kitchen table is still empty, and his voice is still the first thing she hears when she wakes up from dreams she wishes would never end. Patricia steps forward. She places another document on the reception desk. "This is a motion we will be filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission this afternoon," she says. It details the pattern of behavior by Mr. Whitmore and his representatives in their dealings with the trustees of Miss Richardson's shares. It alleges violations of fiduciary duty, securities fraud, and conspiracy to defraud a minor of her lawful inheritance. Gerald sputters. He looks at his own lawyers, 3 of them, standing behind him in matching suits with matching expressions of horror on their faces. He looks at the security guards, who are now definitely not on his side. He looks at the employees with their phones, recording everything, and he realizes, with the particular clarity of a man watching his empire crumble, that he has been outmaneuvered by a 16-year-old girl in a hoodie and sneakers. "This is not over," he says, but even he does not seem to believe it. "I will fight this. I have resources you cannot imagine. I will tie you up in litigation for a decade. I will destroy this company before I let you take it from me." Imani shakes her head slowly, sadly, the way her father used to shake his head when someone disappointed him. "You cannot destroy what you never owned," she says. "And you cannot take from me what was always mine. This company is my father's legacy. It is my inheritance. It is my future. And you, Mr. Whitmore, are trespassing." She turns to the security guards. "Please escort Mr. Whitmore and his associates from the building. They are no longer welcome here." The guards move. Gerald tries to protest, but his own lawyers are already grabbing his arm, pulling him toward the door, whispering urgently about damage control and legal exposure, and the absolute necessity of leaving this building before the situation gets any worse. The automatic doors slide open. Gerald Whitmore, net worth $6.3 billion, is escorted out of Nexus Technologies headquarters by 2 security guards who earn $47,000 a year. He does not look back. He cannot look back. He cannot face the girl who just dismantled his acquisition with a folder full of handwritten notes and a lawyer who was ready for him. The doors close. The lobby exhales. And Imani Richardson, 16 years old, majority owner of a company worth $4.7 billion, allows herself exactly 3 seconds to feel the weight of what just happened before she straightens her spine, wipes her eyes, and turns to Patricia Okonkwo. "What happens now?" she asks. Patricia smiles. It is not a triumphant smile. It is the smile of someone who has just watched a child take her first step into a world that will try to destroy her at every turn. "Now," Patricia says, "you run your company." 14 months ago, on a Tuesday afternoon in January, Marcus Richardson left his office at Nexus Technologies to drive home for dinner with his daughter. He never arrived. The accident happened on the highway 6 miles from the office at 6:47 p.m. His car, a Tesla Model S, with autonomous driving capabilities that he had personally helped develop through a partnership with his company, veered suddenly into oncoming traffic. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The official report concluded that a software glitch had caused the autonomous driving system to malfunction. The case was closed. The insurance paid out. The funeral was held on a Saturday, and 400 people came to pay their respects to a man who had started with nothing and built something that mattered. Imani did not believe the official report. She did not believe it because she knew her father, because she had watched him test every line of code personally. It was because he had told her the week before his death that something strange was happening at the company, that he had discovered irregularities he did not understand yet, that he was worried about what certain people might do if they felt threatened. She did not believe it because of the way Gerald Whitmore had shown up at the funeral, offering condolences that felt rehearsed, offering to help the family through this difficult time, offering to take the burden of the company off their shoulders for a very fair price. She did not believe it because her father had given her a letter, sealed, with instructions not to open it until her 16th birthday, and when she finally opened it 7 days ago, she found not just instructions but evidence, documents he had been gathering, patterns he had noticed. Mere the beginnings of a case he never got to complete. "My father did not die in an accident," Imani says now, standing in the lobby of the company that belongs to her, looking at Patricia Okonkwo with eyes that have seen too much and understand too little. Gerald Whitmore killed him, or someone working for Gerald Whitmore, and when I can prove it, I am going to make sure he pays for what he did. Patricia does not flinch. She does not offer platitudes or cautions, or the kind of measured legal advice that would suggest Imani is reaching too far, dreaming too big, wanting too much. She simply nods. "Then we have work to do," she says. "Let us get started." The weeks that follow are the hardest of Imani's life. Harder than her father's funeral. Harder than the months of grief that followed. Sir, harder than the moment she opened his letter and realized that the man she loved had known he was in danger and had spent his final weeks preparing her for a battle he knew was coming. She moves into the CEO office on her father's floor, the office that has been empty for 14 months, the office where his coffee mug still sits on the desk because no one had the heart to move it. She keeps the mug. She drinks from it every morning, black coffee with 2 sugars, the way he taught her. She learns the company from the inside, not the way she learned it from her father, through stories and explanations and weekend visits, but the way you learn a machine you must operate, every lever and gear and hidden mechanism. She meets with department heads who look at her with skepticism until she starts asking questions they did not expect her to know how to ask. She reviews financial statements that reveal a company in better shape than Gerald Whitmore wanted her to believe. She discovers that the autonomous driving division, the one her father cared about most, has been systematically underfunded by the trustees, the ones Gerald was working with, the ones who wanted the company to look less valuable than it was, so his offer would seem more generous. She fires the trustees. She appoints new ones, people Patricia recommends, people her father trusted, people who actually have her interests at heart. She promotes 3 employees who had been overlooked for years despite their obvious talent, all of them women, all of them people of color. All of them brilliant in ways that the previous leadership structure did not know how to recognize. The press finds out. Of course the press finds out. 16-year-old inherits billion-dollar tech company is not a headline that stays quiet, and within a week, Imani's face is on every business publication in the country, her story told and retold by journalists who cannot decide if she is a symbol of hope or a cautionary tale, a prodigy or a placeholder, a leader or a girl who got lucky. Imani does not read the articles. She does not have time. She is too busy learning to be what her father always knew she could be, what she is only now beginning to believe she might actually become. The investigation into her father's death moves slowly. These things always move slowly when the target has $6 billion and an army of lawyers trained to obstruct, delay, and obscure. But Patricia finds an ally in the Seattle Police Department, a detective named Claudia Reyes, who has been nursing her own suspicions about the Richardson accident for 14 months, who noticed things about the case that did not add up and was told by her superiors to let it go. Detective Reyes does not let things go. Neither does Imani. Together, they begin to build a case, piece by piece, document by document, testimony by testimony. The software engineer who was fired 3 months before the accident for raising concerns about security vulnerabilities in the autonomous driving system. The security footage from the Nexus parking garage showing a man who matches the description of one of Gerald Whitmore's fixers near Marcus Richardson's car the day he died. The financial records that show payments from Whitmore acquisitions to the trustees who were supposed to protect Imani's interests. The pattern emerges slowly, like a photograph developing in a darkroom, the outlines becoming clearer with each new piece of evidence. Gerald Whitmore did not just want to acquire Nexus Technologies, he needed to acquire it. His own company was hemorrhaging money on autonomous vehicle development, falling behind competitors, facing pressure from investors who wanted results. Nexus had what he needed: patents, technology, a team that had solved problems his people could not solve. And Marcus Richardson was not going to sell. So Gerald Whitmore, who had spent his entire career eliminating obstacles, decided to eliminate Marcus Richardson, the murder of a CEO, the manipulation of his estate, the attempted theft of his company from his teenage daughter. It is the kind of story that sounds too dramatic to be true, the kind of story that people dismiss as conspiracy theory or overreach, or the fantasies of a grieving child who cannot accept that sometimes accidents are just accidents. But Imani has the documents. Imani has the witnesses. Imani has the truth. And the truth, her father always told her, is the most powerful weapon in the world if you know how to use it. 3 months after Imani took control of Nexus Technologies, the Department of Justice announces an investigation into Whitmore acquisitions. The announcement comes on a Thursday morning. And by Thursday afternoon, Gerald Whitmore's net worth has dropped by $2.1 billion as investors flee his companies and partners distance themselves from the scandal. Imani watches the press conference on the television in her father's office. She does not smile. She does not celebrate. She thinks about her father, about the dinner they never had, about the conversations they will never have, about the future that was stolen from them by a man who thought his money made him untouchable. She picks up his coffee mug. She takes a sip. It is cold, but she drinks it anyway, because waste is something her father never tolerated. The investigation takes another 6 months. That it takes depositions and subpoenas and the slow grinding machinery of federal law enforcement working to build a case that will survive the best lawyers money can buy. Imani testifies 3 times. She sits in conference rooms surrounded by prosecutors and defense attorneys and court reporters, and she tells the truth, the whole truth, everything she knows about her father and his company and the man who wanted to take both from her. She does not flinch. She does not hedge. She does not let their questions confuse her or their tactics intimidate her. She is her father's daughter. She knows what she knows, and she knows that truth, delivered with clarity and conviction, is something no amount of money can defeat. Gerald Whitmore is arrested on a Tuesday morning in October, exactly 1 year and 9 months after Marcus Richardson's death. The charges include securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and murder in the first degree. The arrest happens at his home in the Hamptons, in front of his wife and children, with cameras recording every moment because someone leaked the timing to the press and the world wanted to watch a billionaire fall. Imani does not watch the arrest. She is in Seattle, in her father's office, reviewing the quarterly earnings report that shows Nexus Technologies has exceeded projections for the 3rd consecutive quarter under her leadership. The autonomous driving division is thriving. The partnerships are multiplying. The company her father built is stronger than it has ever been. Patricia calls her with the news. She found out about the arrest before the press, through her contacts at the DOJ. Because Patricia Okonkwo knows everyone and everything and has been waiting for this moment almost as long as Imani has. They got him, Patricia says, and her voice carries a satisfaction that is almost fierce. First-degree murder. They can prove he ordered it. They have emails, phone records, testimony from the man who tampered with the car. Gerald Whitmore is going to prison for the rest of his life. Imani closes her eyes. She thinks about her father. She thinks about the letter he left her, the words he wrote, knowing he might not survive to speak them. She thinks about the last time she saw him, the morning of the day he died, when he hugged her before she left for school and said, "I love you, baby girl. I am so proud of you." And she said, "Love you too, Daddy. See you at dinner." And dinner never came. A tear runs down her cheek. She lets it fall. "Dad," she whispers, and her voice catches on the word. "We got him." The trial takes 4 months. It is covered by every major news outlet in the country, the spectacle of a billionaire facing consequences for crimes he thought his money would protect him from. The evidence is overwhelming. The testimony is damning. The jury deliberates for less than 8 hours, guilty on all counts. Imani is in the courtroom when the verdict is read. She sits in the front row, next to Patricia, wearing a suit her mother helped her pick out because her mother is here too, sitting on her other side, holding her hand the way she held it at her father's funeral, the way she has held it through every impossible moment of the past 2 years. Gerald Whitmore shows no emotion when the verdict is announced. He stares straight ahead, his face a mask of practiced composure, his lawyers already whispering about appeals and motions and the long legal battle still ahead. But Imani knows, and everyone in that courtroom knows, that the battle is already over. Gerald Whitmore is 67 years old. He has been convicted of first-degree murder. He will die in prison. Justice. The word feels strange in Imani's mouth when she says it to the reporters outside the courthouse. Justice. It is not enough. It will never be enough. Her father is still dead. Her future has still been reshaped by violence. She is still a 16-year-old girl, now 17, carrying responsibilities that would crush most adults. But it is something. It is the world acknowledging that what was done to her father was wrong. It is the system, for once, working the way it is supposed to work. And it is the closest thing to closure she will ever get. That night, Imani goes home to the apartment where she grew up, the apartment her mother refused to leave, even after the money came, even after Imani offered to buy her a mansion, because this is where Marcus Richardson lived and loved and raised his daughter, and these walls hold memories that no amount of money could replace. They eat dinner together. just the two of them. Imani's mother makes her father's favorite meal, jollof rice with fried plantains. The recipe passed down from his mother and her mother before her, the taste of generations in every bite. They do not talk about the trial. They talk about school, about the friends Imani is trying to make despite the impossible circumstances of her life. Share about college applications that are somehow due in 3 months, even though running a billion-dollar company should probably count for something. They talk about Marcus, about the way he laughed, about the terrible jokes he told, about the morning he tried to make pancakes and set off the smoke alarm, and they all ended up eating cereal on the fire escape while the firefighters checked the apartment. They talk about him like he is still here, because in the ways that matter, he is. He is in the coffee mug on Imani's desk. He is in the company she runs with his vision guiding every decision. He is in the letter she keeps in her bedside drawer, the one she reads every night before she falls asleep. The words her father wrote, knowing they might be the last thing he ever said to her. "You are going to change the world, baby girl," Misa the letter says. "Not because you have money or power or a company with your name on the door, but because you have something those things cannot buy. You have courage, you have compassion, you have the stubborn refusal to accept the world as it is when you can see how it should be. That is what changes things. Not money, not power, just ordinary people who decide they have had enough of the way things are. I love you. I believe in you. And I know, with every fiber of my being, that you are going to make me proud." Imani folds the letter carefully. She places it back in its envelope. She turns off the light and lies in the darkness, thinking about tomorrow, about the board meeting, and the product launch, and the 1,000 decisions waiting for her attention. She is 17 years old. Oh, she is the majority owner of a company worth $4.7 billion. She put her father's killer in prison, and she is just getting started. The years that follow are a testament to what happens when someone who should not have power gets power and uses it correctly. Imani graduates from high school with honors, despite missing half her classes, for business obligations. She enrolls at Stanford, not because she needs the degree, but because she wants to learn, because her father always said education was the foundation everything else was built on. She studies computer science and ethics and the history of technology, trying to understand not just how to build things, but why building matters, what obligations come with creation. She runs her company from a dorm room, then from an apartment off campus, then from an office in Palo Alto that she designs herself with input from her employees, because she has learned that the people doing the work usually know best how the work should be done. She expands the autonomous driving division until Nexus Technologies is the undisputed leader in the field. She makes decisions that cost money in the short term, but matter in the long term. Paying workers living wages, investing in communities, refusing to cut corners on safety, even when competitors are racing ahead. She is not the most profitable CEO in her industry. She is not the fastest growing. But she is building something that will last, something that will still be standing when the shortcuts other companies took come back to haunt them. She creates a foundation in her father's name. So the Marcus Richardson Foundation for Young Innovators provides grants, mentorship, and resources to young people from underrepresented backgrounds who have ideas the world is not ready to hear. In its first year, the foundation funds 83 projects. By its 5th year, it will fund over 1,000. 17 of those projects will become companies. 4 of those companies will change their industries. One of those companies will be founded by a 14-year-old black girl from Compton who walked into a pitch meeting with a prototype made of recycled materials and a vision that the investors did not understand until she explained it in terms so clear that denying her became impossible. The cycle continues. The legacy lives. The future is built one decision at a time, one chance taken. One door opened for someone who deserves to walk through it. On the 5th anniversary of her father's death, Imani visits his grave. She brings flowers, the yellow roses he used to bring her mother on their anniversary, and she sits on the grass beside his headstone and tells him everything that has happened since the last time she visited. The product launches, the partnerships, the foundation grant that just funded a breakthrough in renewable energy storage. The young woman she hired as her chief technology officer who reminds her so much of herself at that age that sometimes it hurts to look at her. She tells him about the hard things too. The board members who still underestimate her. The journalists who still ask if she is really in charge or if there is a man behind the scenes making the real decisions. the loneliness that comes with being the youngest person in every room, the only black woman at the table more often than not, the weight of representing everyone who looks like her, whether she asks to or not. She tells him she misses him. She tells him she wishes he could see what she has built. She tells him she still drinks from his coffee mug every morning, black with 2 sugars, and some days the taste is the only thing that keeps her going. And then she tells him the thing she has never told anyone, not Patricia, not her mother, not the therapist she finally started seeing last year when the weight became too much to carry alone. "I forgive you," she says, and the words feel strange in her mouth, heavy and light at the same time. "I forgive you for leaving me. I know you did not choose to go. I know you would have stayed if you could. But I was so angry, Daddy. For so long, I was so angry that you left me alone in this world with all this responsibility and all these people trying to take what was mine. I was angry at you for being right about everything, for knowing exactly what would happen and preparing me for it, for making me carry the weight of your legacy before I was ready." She pauses. The wind rustles the grass. Somewhere, a bird is singing. "But I am not angry anymore. I understand now. You did what you had to do to protect me. You gave me everything I needed to fight the people who wanted to destroy what you built. You trusted me to be strong enough, smart enough, stubborn enough to win. And I did win, Daddy. I won." She places her hand on the headstone, feeling the cool stone beneath her palm, wishing it was warm, wishing it was skin, wishing she could have one more conversation, one more hug, one more morning of bad pancakes and smoke alarms. "I am going to keep winning," she says. "I am going to keep building. I am going to keep making you proud. And when my time comes, whenever that is, I am going to make sure someone is ready to carry this forward, the way you made sure I was ready. That is the promise. That is what you taught me. We do not just build for ourselves. We build for everyone who comes after." She stands. She brushes the grass from her jeans. She takes one last look at the headstone, at the name carved in stone, at the dates that bracket a life that was too short and too full and too important to ever be forgotten. "Goodbye, Daddy," she says. "I will see you next year." She walks back to her car where her driver is waiting, where her phone is already buzzing with messages about the afternoon meetings she's about to miss. She gets in. She takes a breath. And then she opens her phone and gets back to work, because the world does not stop for grief, and the work is never done. And somewhere out there is a young person with an idea and a dream, and no idea how to make it real. And Imani Richardson is not going to rest until that person has the chance they deserve. Have you ever been told you do not belong somewhere you had every right to be? Have you ever had someone look at you, at your skin or your clothes or your age, and decide in an instant that you were less than, that your words were worthless, that your presence was an intrusion rather than a right? Or have you ever stood in a room full of people who assumed they knew your story before you opened your mouth, who had already written the ending before you got to tell the beginning, who saw the surface and never bothered to look beneath? If you are still watching, if you made it this far, if something in this story touched something in you, I want you to know that Imani Richardson is not special. She is not a unicorn. She is not the exception that proves the rule. She is proof that the rule was always wrong. The rule that says young people do not know anything. The rule that says black girls from ordinary neighborhoods do not build billion-dollar companies. The rule that says power belongs to the people who already have it, and everyone else should just be grateful for whatever scraps fall from the table. Those rules were written by people who had every reason to keep others out and no reason to let them in. They were written by people who benefited from a world where potential was wasted and talent was overlooked, and the accident of birth mattered more than the content of character. They were written by people who were afraid of what would happen if the doors were opened, if the barriers were removed, if everyone had the same chance to become what they were capable of becoming. Imani Richardson did not wait for the doors to be opened. She kicked them down. She walked into a room where she was not supposed to be and claimed what was hers and refused to leave when powerful men told her she did not belong. She was 16 years old. She was wearing a hoodie and jeans and sneakers with scuffed toes, and she changed the world. Yet what is stopping you? What rule have you been told you cannot break? What door have you been told you cannot enter? What dream have you been told is too big for someone who looks like you, sounds like you, comes from where you come from? The story is not about Imani. The story is about the Imanis we never hear about, The young people with brilliance in their minds and fire in their hearts who are told every day that they do not matter, that their ideas are worthless, that the world was not built for them. The story is about you. It is about the choice you make the next time you see someone being dismissed because of how they look or where they come from. It is about whether you stand silent or step forward. It is about whether you believe the rules or break them. Imani Richardson had a letter from her father. She had a lawyer who believed in her. She had a mother who held her hand and never let go. Not everyone has those things. Not everyone starts with $1 billion inheritance and documentation of their worth. But everyone has something. Everyone has a voice. Everyone has the ability to stand in a room where they are not supposed to be and say 5 words that change everything. I own this company. I have a right to be here. I am not leaving. You are wrong about me. I matter. 5 words. Different words maybe for you. But the same meaning. The same refusal to accept the limits others try to place on you. The same stubborn insistence on being seen, being heard, being valued. That is all it takes. One moment, one choice, one refusal to back down. The rest takes care of itself. Somewhere, right now, a young person is being told they do not belong. They are standing in a lobby or a classroom or a conference room, facing someone who has already decided their worth based on their skin or their clothes or their address. They are wondering if the voice in their head is right, the voice that says, maybe you should just leave, maybe they are right, maybe this is not for you. If that young person is you, hear this. They are wrong. They were always wrong. And the only way to prove it is to stay. Stay in the room. Stay in the fight. Stay true to who you are and what you know and what you are capable of becoming. The world will try to push you out. Push back. The world will try to silence you. Speak louder. The world will try to take what is yours. Hold on tighter. This is your story now. Write it the way you want it to end. The camera fades. Even the screen goes dark. And somewhere in a coffee shop or a classroom or a bedroom with posters on the walls and dreams too big for the space that contains them, a young person sets down their phone and looks at their reflection and sees, maybe for the first time, someone who belongs in every room they have ever been told to leave. They pick up a pen, they open a notebook, and they start to write the story that will change everything.